Before we go on, and I want to make sure I know I haven't asked in a few videos already. I don't like to repeat myself on every video about this subject. I don't want to force you guys to do this, but it will help me out a lot. It will be really great if you guys subscribed. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a reminder every now and then. Every few videos I'll do that, but not on every video. But yeah, if you can subscribe or share it with anyone else in your friends or whatever who's trying to learn front-end development and learn how to learn HTML, CSS, things like that, JavaScript, and just go ahead and share with them, ask them to subscribe, and that way you can get all the latest from me whenever I post a new video. Right now this is my first one, my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for complete beginners, and eventually I will be creating some more complex and advanced systems with using Angular and then React and Vue, JS, which are a lot more complex frameworks to use in front-end development, but that will give you an immense amount of tools and abilities to create really good professional work that I've been using with many projects and companies that I've been working with and working for. And learning those frameworks is what makes you a great developer, a great front-end developer, because that's what the world is using. The world is not using plain HTML. And also for your own personal projects, if you wanted to do this as a freelance and you were working with a back-end guy to help you out, you want to make sure that you give him some really good front-end development code so that they can add back-end development to it, unless you decide to learn back-end yourself and do the whole thing yourself, then that's fine. But you want to make sure that you provide your clients with really good code that is not going to cause any issues or anything like that. As far as the design goes and things like that, and how pretty you make the site, you can always get inspiration from other websites, and I do that a lot too. Even at my stage where I've been doing this for so long, I still go to other websites and look at what they're doing and get some inspiration from other sites. It is not ideal, or better yet, it's very unethical to steal other people's designs. So don't do that. Don't steal all of their HTML and try to replicate it. That's not cool, especially for a paying customer. But if you have to do that just because you want to learn some stuff, then that's fine. Just make sure you don't deploy it out in the world and claim it your own or anything like that. You can use templates if you want to, as long as you buy them. But I feel like the more you use templates, it's not really going to help you, build up your creativity and make yourself a good developer. So it's better to just do everything from scratch yourself, and just build yourself up from there. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our code here. So we're done with the HTML on the home page, and that page is pretty much done. So now what we're going to do in this one is we're going to start creating our about page. All right. So now one thing I want to do here is I want to show you. I'm going to build an about page in HTML as well. But the reason why but eventually all of this will be created in PHP, and I will show you how time consuming it can be to create a purely HTML website if you don't rely on a more robust language that gives you other tools that you can use to make your programming and your development a little faster and more effective. If you do it all with HTML, you have to repeat yourself a lot, and unless you're using, like I said, another type of language like a JavaScript framework or PHP or something like that. But in this case, we're going to use PHP to make things easier. On the next video, we're going to show that. In this one, I'm going to show the time-consuming way, okay, the slow way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add the about page so I can show you. So let's say, for example, I'm not using PHP yet, and I decided to just stick to HTML, right? I'll show you now how time consuming can that be. that can be. Sorry. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that I am not inside of a folder or anything like that. So I'm gonna close all that, click in this dead space until it turns really dark like this, and create a file, and I'm gonna call it about HTML. I hit enter. Alright, so here you go, my page is there. So if we go to our document here, and we have the about page already linked. So if we go here to the HTML code, you're gonna see navigation, inside the navigation, that we already are linking to an about HTML page. So beforehand we knew this page was gonna go on, and that's why I created it ahead of time. So now because the page is finally created, now when I click here and I click in the about page, it actually takes me somewhere. Okay, before it didn't exist. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete it for now so you can show you what I mean. So if I delete it and I come over here, I'll refresh the screen, and I go to the about page, it says cannot get about HTML. So basically my localhost server cannot find it. So since it doesn't exist, you get this. Okay, in a real professional environment that you build, this right here will be a 404 page, which it would tell you something like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, the page you're trying to reach is not here. You know, that's just in case somebody tries to hack the domain here and put something like this, for example. You know, it doesn't exist, right? So you will need a 404 in case someone was trying to hack your domain. And by hacking, I mean, you know, try to write the domain themselves. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add that back up, about HTML. Okay, so now if I go to here, it shows empty, but it doesn't say cannot get HTML about HTML, because it does exist. It's just nothing in it. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put the stuff that we need. So what do we need? All right, so we know we need the navigation, and we know we need, let's look at the main one here. In the main one, the one that I already built, we know we need the navigation, and we know we need the footer, and we know we need also the subscribe newsletter. The only thing that changed is the stuff in here. So we're gonna come to the index page, and we're going to, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create the document actually. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna put that, create, enter, hit enter, and you get all the stuff you need, right? So now we are going to go here and start from the top. So in the head, I'm gonna grab everything inside the head, because I do want all of these references. So I'm gonna create copy, and I go in here and I'm gonna replace it in there, and then in here, HTML tutorial about. Okay, the next thing we're gonna need is in the body, we're gonna need the navigation. So we're gonna copy all of this navigation, and we're gonna come here to the about, and inside the body we're gonna put the navigation in there. But now we don't want the home page to be the active link, so we're gonna cut it with Control X and add it to the next one, space there. So now the about page is the one that shows in red, this one, not the home. I have it wrong in my design, but it should be this one. Okay, so what else we need? So we have this right here is part of all these sections right here is what we're gonna end up building eventually. So we need the footer. So we're gonna come over here to the footer. We're gonna make sure we grab it all here. We're gonna copy. We're gonna go to the about, and inside the underneath the navigation, I'm gonna put the footer in here. I'm gonna put a comment, content here. Oh my god, there you go, content here. Alright, and then the last thing we're gonna need is all the script files that we are using from Bootstrap and our own main JavaScript. Copy that and put it underneath the footer there, and hit enter. Now when we hit enter and we come here to the about page, there we go, we have the about page already with the active red. We have the footer right here, and we have the header. We have everything we need. All we need is to add the content inside, which is, you don't see it because it's underneath. This is underneath of that. So I'm gonna go ahead now and come up here, and then here is in the content. Here in the content is where we're going to add the rest of the about page. So for the about page, well, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste it, and then you can grab it yourself from the resources if you want to, but I'll give you some time to look at it. So let me go ahead first and minimize the head, minimize the navigation to get it out of the way, minimize the footer and my scripts, since I'm not going to be working with any of that. I do this a lot, and this is not necessary. You don't have to minimize your code, but I do minimize my code because I want to have on the screen only what I'm working with. It makes it a lot easier for me to find the stuff I'm working with and not get confused and change things in places that I shouldn't change things. Okay, so it's just a good practice. It's not like a necessary thing. It's just I like organization. So, and I recommend for you guys that are learning and that are just starting to be organized about everything that you do, because this is going to be troublesome for some of you. Okay, so if you notice here, a lot of this stuff here is kind of like wrapped already. This dead space that you see here, even if you wrote this like this, it still wouldn't make a difference. Okay, this is only broken into pieces like this because that's the way that I have it on my IDE, Visual Studio. But it doesn't really make a difference. It will still all the space right here that you see here, it will be ignored by the browser, and it will still type it, show it full width, to the size of the container that is in, which is these containers here. So I'm not gonna keep fixing this. I'm just gonna show you that in this one that is all in line, and basically it wraps automatically. Okay, except for this one. There we go. So you notice how this one is all in line. It still wraps within my IDE, but this one don't. This one, I purposely broke it into separate lines, and it's still, whether you write like this in your IDE or write like this in your IDE, it still wouldn't matter. At the end of the day, because I'm using Prettier will do this anyway. They will break it down into sections that is smaller, because it feels like, well, this is what you will probably be using in case you wanted to develop and and have something that you can read better instead of all the way to the end or whatever. That's just Prettier stuff. This is the extension that we created, that we added in here, that is doing that. So now we have this stuff here, right? We have everything that we have here. All right, so now let's see what went on here. What's going on? All right, so something is going on with the newsletter, and that is we didn't add the newsletter. All right, so we're gonna grab the newsletter and we're gonna add it under the navigation, and that's what that was going on. Okay, minimize that, hit enter, and here we go. So the newsletter is there, but it's hidden behind there. Alright, so one more thing, we have to figure out what happened. So if we go to okay, I see what happened. All right, so so we have the newsletter here. So in the home page, we have the newsletter to be stuck to the element above it, right here, right? You see how it's stuck to the showcase element that we created. So since the showcase is not available anymore, this will still be stuck to whatever is above it, which in this case is probably just the header, the navigation bar. But we don't want that. We want now to actually have some space above it, so it can still look like it's stuck under this one. So you have to create some margin off of the top. So the only additional thing that I'm adding to here to the newsletter is going to be a class that I call it MT7, okay, and it's referenced in the styles. So if I go to that MT7, you see it right here, is a margin top 70. 70 is basically the height of the header. So I'm telling my newsletter to have a margin top of the height of the header, so that way it will scoot down the same height of the header, and it will look, instead of stuck over here, it will look stuck to this over here. So back over here, yep, M7, hit enter, and here we go. You see now it's where it needs to be, right underneath the header, and then the rest of the stuff is here. Okay, and that's basically how you create a page. Alright, now that doesn't seem like a lot. You were like, well, you know, Lewis, come on, that was just very easy. You just basically copy and paste a bunch of stuff from every page and put it on the next one, and boom, done. How long did that take? 15 minutes total? Yeah, sure, no problem. But remember, keep in mind, this is a very small application that we're building. It's a very small website. So at this point in time, if you're going to be building sites that are this small, you're never going to have a problem with this. It's going to be always that small, okay? And it's going to be that easy. But when you're in the professional world building way more complicated systems, this is going to be a problem. It's going to be a lot of copy and pasting and a lot of code to maintain. That's the main issue. The main issue is that now, if I wanted to change something on a global item like a navigation, the navigation is a global item. And global item is a term that we use in development a lot, and it basically means that it's an item that is going to be the same on every page or in many pages. So since it's considered a global item, any change that you do to it, you have to do it on every page that you put it into. So let's say, for example, the client decided that the header can be black, it has to be red instead, right? Or the logo changed, for example. Let's just, not the color, let's not talk about the color, because you can make the color change here in the CSS and it will change everywhere, so that's fine. But something in the HTML, so like for example here, it's not going to be, the company went through a branding strategy program, and instead of called fitness and style, and lifestyle, it's called fitness and style. So now guess what? Now you have to come over here to the HTML in the index and find it right here in the navigation and change this to style. Then you gotta go to the about page and find it here and change this to style, and to the next page, and on the next page, and on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and so forth. And who knows how many pages you have. If you have 3 or 4 pages, no big deal. But if you have a company that has 100 pages, 1,000 pages, like some of the systems that I've built for government sites or big enterprises that have over 1,000, even close to 10,000 different pages, you don't want to have to do that. It will take you all day. So whenever you have global components like the navigation and the footer, menus and things like that, in this case a newsletter, you know, things like that, you want to be able to have that kind of stuff separately in a file that you can inject inside every file, so that way you can maintain it in one specific place, and every change you make there, it will propagate to every injection that you have in all the other pages. And that is done with either PHP or any other backend development code language, or JavaScript frameworks like Angular or React and Vue, things like that. Okay, so in this course we're gonna do it with PHP. So now that we have the about page created, now we're gonna go ahead and let me save this. Now that we have the page created in PHP and we know that it can work this way, what we're going to do is we're gonna actually create this system, or convert this system to PHP, and that I'm going to do that on the next one, on the next video, because I want to dedicate a whole section, a whole video just to do that conversion. And then we're going to convert the index, the about page, and at the same time we're going to create a new one, a program page, so you can see how PHP the PHP code can help you create more pages faster. Okay guys, All right, so don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like it, don't forget to do whatever it is that you gotta do, share it, do whatever you want to do with this, but don't forget to study. That's the main thing. Don't forget to study, create, stuff on your own. And one of the things that you're gonna hear a lot from developers is that we break more than we fix. And that is true. It's because when we're learning, we find a lot of things that are not working correctly, and that's how we learn that that's not the right way to do it. And that's okay. That's how I think it was Graham Bell that had 100 tries at making a light bulb, or Thomas Edison, was it? I don't remember, somebody. And they said, well, it took you 100 tries to make a light bulb. And they said, well, it took me 99 tries to learn how not to make a light bulb, and 1 to learn how to make the light bulb. Something like that. Don't quote me exactly how that goes. I'm pretty sure one of you guys will probably correct me on this, and I'm sure I messed it up, but you know what, humor me. It's the best thing that I can do as far as an analogy for that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut you off on this, and see you on the next tutorial so we can start learning some of the PHP application for your pages. Okay? Alright, see you in the next one.